Imagine a country so small it could vanish within the borders of a single metropolis. A land stripped of natural riches, with no vast plains to farm, no oil to refine, and no great rivers to sustain its people. In 1965, Singapore stood at the edge of oblivion, its economy in ruins, its people divided, its very survival uncertain. How then did this fragile island defy its fate and ascend to global prominence? This is the story of Singapore's remarkable transformation, an odyssey of resilience, precision, and an unwavering will to thrive. The year is 1965. Singapore, once a colonial outpost of the British Empire, has just been expelled from Malaysia, severing its ties to the federation that was supposed to guarantee its stability. It is a moment of crisis, a break so sudden that even Lee Kuan Yew, the nation's founding leader, cannot hold back tears as he announces independence. The young city-state faces overwhelming odds. Singapore's challenges are as daunting as they are numerous. Unemployment hovers at a staggering 14%, with half the population unskilled and over 50% illiterate. Ethnic tensions run high between the Chinese majority, Malays and Indians, threatening to fracture society. The nation lacks the land to feed its people, the energy resources to fuel an economy, and even the water necessary for survival, completely reliant on imports from Malaysia. Defenseless and exposed, the city seems destined to remain a forgotten fragment in the tides of history. But Lee Kuan Yew refuses to accept this fate. His vision is ruthless, his methods precise. Singapore, he declares, must become indispensable. It cannot rely on vast resources or sheer size. It must turn its disadvantages into strengths. With this, a grand strategy is born, built upon three unshakable pillars: economic transformation, social engineering, and military strength. The first step in this transformation is recognizing the island's most valuable asset, its location. Singapore is perched at the gateway of the Malacca Strait, through which nearly 30% of the world's trade flows. If it can master this advantage, it can command the flow of global commerce. The government moves swiftly, embracing a radical pro-business policy. Singapore eliminates burdensome regulations, slashes corporate taxes, and declares a policy of zero tolerance for corruption. Where other nations drown in bureaucracy, Singapore streamlines every aspect of its economy. Investors flood in, drawn by the promise of stability and efficiency. Yet, a nation cannot thrive on commerce alone. It must be united from within. The wounds of racial division threaten to tear Singapore apart, but Lee Kuan Yew and his government execute an unprecedented solution: the Housing Development Board, or HDB. This is not merely an urban planning initiative, it is a masterstroke of social engineering. High-rise apartment complexes rise across the city, each governed by ethnic quotas that ensure integration. No single race can form an enclave, no community can retreat into isolation. The people of Singapore are forced to live together, work together, and in doing so, forge a shared identity. But unity requires more than housing. It demands security, financial security. The Central Provident Fund, or CPF, is established, a bold economic structure that mandates citizens save for their own future. Unlike the Western welfare states that rely on government subsidies, Singapore compels its citizens to be disciplined with their earnings. A portion of every paycheck is deposited into an individual's CPF account, used for housing, healthcare, and retirement. The result? A nation of savers, financially stable and shielded from economic collapse. With the foundation of stability in place, Singapore embarks on its economic revolution. The government carefully selects industries that will not only bring prosperity, but will make Singapore irreplaceable. Oil refining, semiconductor manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and financial services. These become the pillars of its new economy. Multinational corporations are invited in, their investments fueling a transformation beyond imagination. By 2025, Singapore's GDP has soared from a meager $970 million in 1965 to an astounding $550 billion. Its per capita income, once a mere $511, now exceeds $89,000, ranking it among the wealthiest nations on Earth. But wealth alone is not enough. Singapore understands a simple yet immutable truth. Economic power without military strength is fleeting. It cannot afford to be defenseless. In response, the government establishes national service, a mandatory military conscription policy. Every young man must serve, ensuring a constant force of trained soldiers. The city-state invests heavily in cutting-edge military technology, amassing the most formidable defense forces in Southeast Asia. Though small in size, Singapore becomes untouchable, an island fortress, sending a clear message to any who would challenge its sovereignty. Even with its prosperity and security, Singapore must navigate an even greater challenge: the global balance of power. Caught between the giants of the modern world, China and the United States, the island must tread carefully. It welcomes investment from both superpowers, establishing itself as a global financial hub. Yet as tensions rise over Taiwan, the South China Sea, and the shifting tides of geopolitics, Singapore's neutrality becomes increasingly precarious. It must remain a friend to all, yet a pawn to none. Looking ahead, the next 60 years will test Singapore's resilience once again. Climate change threatens its very existence, with rising sea levels poised to swallow its coasts. Technological shifts demand constant adaptation, lest Singapore be left behind. The global economic order is in flux, and the strategies of the past may no longer suffice. Can Singapore continue its meteoric rise, or has it reached its peak? The story of Singapore is more than a tale of economic success. It is a testament to human ingenuity, discipline, and the power of visionary leadership. It is proof that even the smallest of nations, with the right strategy, can shape their own destiny and command the attention of the world. As history unfolds, one truth remains: Singapore is no longer a vulnerable city-state. It is a beacon of what is possible when a nation refuses to accept its limitations and dares to build a future beyond imagination. And that, my friends, is the incredible story of Singapore, an unstoppable force that turned its greatest weaknesses into unshakable strengths. But what do you think? Can Singapore continue to thrive in an era of global uncertainty, or will the challenges ahead prove too great even for this mighty city-state? Let's get the discussion going in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Singapore's rise and want to see more fascinating stories of nations' power and history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create even more in-depth content just like this. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. We've got plenty more mind-blowing stories coming your way, so stick around, because the best is yet to come. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.